everybody, my name is Sheila SL Reads, and today I'm going to be talking about some series that I loved as a child. I have always read a lot. Like my whole life, I've always been an avid reader. One of my first memories is reading. I remember reading and doing workbooks for school, and I remember listening to the Harry Potter audiobooks. Books have just always been so important to me. Obviously, I wouldn't be making booktube videos if books were not important to my life, so I just wanted to talk about some books that I really enjoyed as a kid. The books that I'm going to be featuring are ones that are not the most popular. I think there's only one on this list that I kind of didn't know if it counted as like popular or like more of the kind of books that I was featuring in this video, so I kind of just added it in. But I read and loved Percy Jackson and Harry Potter and lots of big series like that. I'm going to be showing you the first book in series. All of these are series. I still to this day do not read a lot of standalones, so I love series. I've always really enjoyed them. I'm breathing a little heavy right now because I just had to run downstairs and find one of the books because I realized that I forgot it because I moved it to a different bookshelf. The first book I'm going to start with is the book that I said was popular, but I kind of thought that it still fit on my list of less popular reads for children. But beyond that, all these books are in no particular order. This book is popular again now because the Netflix series just came out for it, and that would be the series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. I have all of these books except for like the 4th, 5th, and 6th ones, so there's just like a big gap in the middle of my series. I don't know why I don't have those. I really should pick them up sometime. Like I said, this one is pretty popular, and so you probably know what it's about. 3 kids get orphaned in a mysterious fire that kills their parents and burns their house down, and they end up having to go live with Count Olaf, who is an actor, but he also really wants their fortune, and there's kind of this mystery and this danger because was he the person who killed their parents? What's really going on? I have not actually finished watching the TV show. All the series was really long. It's 13 books. They're all really good, even though they're really sad. Like, it's a series of unfortunate events. Just like in the show, the narrator warns you that it's not going to be happy stuff happening. Like, lots of sad things happen. And so, as a child reading that, it was like, oh no, these poor kids, they're orphans, they're going through all this stuff. After Count Olaf, their caretakers are either evil or they die or they're working in factories or something like that. But these are just very likable stories anyways. You really love the characters and you want them to succeed and get to the point in their lives where things are not so shitty. I don't know how long like the series spans in like real time. Is it a few years or what? I can't remember. And the 3 kids definitely grow up as it goes, but it's really like a lot of stuff happening like all at once, like one thing after another. Like their parents die and now they're trying to get away from this dude. Another new guardian is dead. Another new guardian is dead. And it's just bad. It just sucks. Just poor kids. Poor Baudelaires. I love you. Next book is the book that I had to run downstairs and get off the bookshelf in my basement. That would be My Sister the Vampire by Sienna Mercer. Obviously, around the time that Twilight was popular, there was this big surge of books about like vampires and werewolves, and I believe this is one of them. I think this is the first book. I like read the back trying to figure out like which one was the first because they're not numbered on the side or on the front or anything, so I'm just guessing that Switched is the first one. I used to get these at the Scholastic book fairs that came to my school. This is about a human girl named Olivia who moves to a new town and finds this girl who looks just like her. And not only is this girl her twin, but this girl is also a vampire. And so it's this really weird thing about like vampires and humans coexisting. And it's really funny to see like, different parts of the vampire myths that they use in this book. She's like deathly allergic to garlic. I think this is really funny, and the fact that they're twins also makes it like this big ordeal. This is Olivia and this is Ivy. Ivy is the boyfriend, Olivia gets confused for her, and it's just like this big disaster of like pretty fun. I never finished reading this series because I graduated before the series was finished. I think there's like a lot more after this one. The next book I can't find the first copy of. I have the second one. I don't know where the first book is. I don't know where it could be in my house. I don't think it's in my room. My room is very messy, but like books have a place. The bookshelves are where they belong. That series would be The Secret of Emily Windsnap by Liz Kessler. I think I've brought this up in a video before, but I love mermaids. I think they're super cool. I don't really like The Little Mermaid. It's definitely one of my least favorite Disney movies, but this is a great book. It's about a girl who thinks she's a human for like most of her life and then ends up finding out that she is like half mermaid. Not like half fish, like she's half mermaid, but somehow it didn't like make an appearance. There was a movie about this called like The 13th Year or something, and kind of has a similar premise. I really loved these when I was younger because I love mermaids and I always wanted to be a mermaid, and it was so cool that like you could just like wake up one day and then it turns out, guess what? You're a mermaid. And that was just something I was so jealous of as a child, and I wish that I was Emily Windsnap. Also, the first book is called The Tale of Emily Windsnap, but it's spelled like tail, like she's a mermaid tail. So it's really funny. Maybe this is why I make so many puns now, because I had like early education in puns. I miss when books were this like inexpensive. This is like $6, which is kind of expensive for a book this size, but like that's cheap. I wish all books were $6. The next series that I loved is The Song of the Lioness by Tamora Pierce. I think my cousin recommended this to me, and then I read the whole series, and then I gave it to my grandmother to read, and it's just so fun. This was like my first real introduction to high fantasy or fantasy in general. This is about a girl named Alana. She's the daughter of some lord, I think, and she has a brother who's pretty much her same age. I don't think they're twins. I think they're just like born like right after one another. They're both about to be sent off to different places. She is supposed to be sent to become like a mage, I think, and her brother is supposed to be sent to become a knight. But neither of them really want that. With the help of some magic, they end up switching places on the way there, and he ends up going to become a mage. They spread the story that there was never an Alana. There was only, I think she pretends her name is Alan. If I was pretending that I was a dude, I would definitely pick a more fun name than like Sheldon, which I guess is the only like close name to Sheila if I was a dude. So, you know, Alana, you just need more of an imagination. You could have been a mage, but you just chose not to. You definitely get to see a strong female character at a young age, and you get to see her grow up. And it kind of has some elements that remind me of the Throne of Glass series, but she's not an assassin, and she is definitely like younger in her teenage years during this series. When I got The Sims Medieval, because I love The Sims, I definitely named my like kingdom Tortal, which is the kingdom in this book. I think I named the king after the prince in this book. I'm pretty sure. Wasn't his name Jonathan? Was it Jonathan? I don't know if it's Jonathan. I wish the back of the book would tell me all the names that I need to know, like Alan and maybe Jonathan. Not really sure. The next book on this list is I'd Tell You I Love You, But Then I'd Have to Kill You by Allie Carter. I love spies so much. This, I think, is where I got like my introduction to spies and why I love them so much. This book is about an all-girls boarding school for spies. I know, it sounds so cool already, and I haven't even gotten anywhere. There's definitely, like, the girl gang in this. The main character's name is Cammie Morgan. She's the daughter of, like, these infamous American spies. Her dad disappeared on a mission, and she hasn't seen him since. One of her friends is the daughter of some infamous British spies. One of her friends is a computer genius. One of the characters that is introduced and becomes one of her closest friends is the daughter of, like, the president or the vice president or something like that, or he's running for Congress or something. This is such a great, like, introduction into, like, spy culture, I guess. They have all these, like, spy classes, and there's, like, you have to learn, like, etiquette and foreign languages and stuff like that, but you also have, like, field missions where you have to, like, not mess up. And it's, like, it's so fun, and, like, I wish I was there, but also there's, like, this layer of danger. There's actually, like, bad stuff happening. Like, it's not like they're just at a school for spies and they're never gonna have to, like, use any of this information. Like, no, they do, and it's terrifying. And this is another example of, like, these really strong female characters, and they're, like, they're spies, and they're kicking ass, and they're only, like, 15 years old. Next series on this list is the 13 Treasures trilogy by Michelle Harrison. This series is about fairies. This was probably the first thing that I read about fairies. I don't think I have ever read a book that has, like, good fairies. Like, not just, like, they're okay fairies or, like, they're bad fairies. Like, I've never read one with, like, good fairies. Like, where they're not being complete assholes all the time. This one is definitely about the bad fairies. Our main character, Tanya, can see fairies, and it's something that scares her mother. So she sends Tanya to her grandmother's estate. I think it's in England. I think it's in England or Ireland, Scotland, UK, something like that. And there she learns about a girl who disappeared into the fairy realms like 50 years before this. While she's at this estate, she's still seeing these fairies, and I don't remember it all that well, but I know she does go to the fairy realms. The back of the book says that she finds herself dangerously close to vanishing into the fairy realm forever. That's terrifying. Fairies suck in this book. I really enjoyed this series. I know it was one of like the later ones. It's not something that has had as much time to steep in my mind as the rest of these have, but it is so great. The next book is something that I really, really love. Like, I read this series a few times because I loved it so much, and I don't remember where I've learned about it. I know there was a time in my life before I read the series, and I know that there is a time after that, and that is where I currently am, and it's amazing. I'm living life. That series is The Companions Quartet by Julia Golding. This is a really interesting premise. So this is called an eco-fantasy? I don't know why. There is definitely ecological issues in this book that are addressed, so maybe that's why. Maybe it's because it's like a fantasy series that is set, but it involves like creatures of the earth, or I don't really know. I don't know where I'm going with this. So the main character, Connie Lionheart, cool ass name. I think her parents are like artists or something, and so she's sent to live with her aunt because it's too hard for her to travel with them. Like, she has to go to school, and her aunt lives in this like seaside town. She ends up meeting this kid named Cole who's like super cool, but for some reason befriends her, and she finds out that mythological creatures really exist. And like, she's always had this like ability to communicate with animals, but it turns out that like not only is there a secret society for all these mythical creatures, but it turns out that she is like the rarest thing of all. It's kind of like your Hogwarts house, but if you were like all four of them at once, that's kind of what she is. Like, she doesn't just have an affinity for like one type of creature. She has an affinity for all of them. And so she has like this power and this prestige thrust upon her, and people don't believe her, or they just don't want her to be this person, or they just want to use her to further their own agendas. All that is really deep for like a middle grade series, but it is so beautiful. I love her friendship with Cole, and I love her connection to animals and to this mythical world that she is just thrust into. That's definitely something that I really liked as a child, was like, instead of like the person was born into this mythical world, it's like, guess what? Now they're just in it. They didn't know it existed before, and now they're like smack dab in the middle of it. And that is what happens to Connie. Still not over the fact that Connie Lionheart is the coolest name ever. The next series is The Sisters Grimm by Michael Buckley. I feel like I'm just taking a trip down memory lane and all the books that I loved. I think I got most of these from the library because I don't have a lot of them. I only have 3 of the books. For some reason, I feel like I just have 2 copies of the first one. There are these 2 girls, Sabrina and Daphne Grimm. They get sent to live with their grandmother in this weird town where there are all these characters from fairy tales. And that's weird. The main characters, Sabrina and Daphne, are descendants of the Brothers Grimm. And it turns out that their book of fairy tales is actually a collection of case files of mythological misdeeds. And so there are just all these people living in this town. And they're kind of like questionable characters. They end up having to be fairy tale detectives, just like the Brothers Grimm, apparently. And it's just such a fun story. Like, the adventures that they go on are so cool, because each book you get to meet more characters in the town and just more characters from different fairy tales. My favorite is Puck from Midsummer's Night Dream, who ends up being their kind of friend, kind of like they have to deal with him and they kind of hate it, but they kind of love it simultaneously. That kind of character. There he is! Puck, love of my life. I think he was one of my first literary crushes. He's like the worst, and I loved him so much. I feel like if I had to compare this to a TV show, I would compare it to Once Upon a Time. I feel like maybe that's the reason I never really got into the show Once Upon a Time, because I was like, well, why would I need that when I have this book series? So the final 2 books on this list are definitely like my favorite books from my childhood. These have just been part of my life for so long. The first of these is Avalon Web of Magic by Rachel Roberts. This is about 3 very different girls. The shy daughter of the local veterinarian, there is the girl who lives on the edge of this mysterious, weird forest preserve thing you're not supposed to go into, doesn't have a lot of friends, and then there's the most popular girl around who's kind of bratty and kind of hard to love at times, but you grow to love her. Suddenly there are these mythical creatures appearing in their town in this forest, and it turns out there is like a portal to another world that has all of these fantastic creatures. They have to deal with the consequences of this portal being there, where people are not really okay with random purple bears just showing up out of nowhere. Like, people don't like that for some reason. Like, if I saw this, I would just start crying. I wouldn't attack him, but you know, not everyone is like me. It's kind of like the chosen one trope, but like with 3 people. We have to take on this responsibility of the magic of this other world, still live their lives in the real world. I'm literally 2 seconds away from reading this entire series right now. There's like 12 or 13 books, and I'm so close. I was going to read the first book of all these series to prepare myself for this video, and I told myself I didn't have enough time for that. So I should not read this whole series. I'm telling myself that right now, but I'm going to be mature about this. It's just a great story about friendship and magic and 3 very different people coming together to create something beautiful, and it impacted me so much as a child. The final series on this list is a contemporary series, which is very different from the rest of them that I'm looking at right now. There is a disgusting looking pile happening right here. None of it is straight. It's just, oh, it's a mess. This series is literally what I wanted my life to be like. It was Canterwood Crest by Jessica Burkhart. I love horses so much. They're my favorite animal. Recently my Instagram has just been me posing with like horse statues everywhere I find them, which is really weird that there are that many horse statues around. I keep finding them. I definitely have like a radar for like punch bugs to like punch people for. Maybe I have it for horse statues too. Maybe that's just like my weird talent. That's my magic, you know? This is about Sasha Silver, who goes to a middle school that is a boarding school. Half of it is equestrians and the other half is like normal students. And that's what I wanted my life to be like. I wanted to go to a boarding school. I wanted to be able to ride horses whenever I wanted. Did I get that? No. Is that probably a good thing? Yes, but it would have been cool, right? Like, I would have loved to go to a school like this. I actually, like, found one. My friends and I really wanted to go to this. This series definitely has, like, the cliques that everybody tells you high school is like, which I didn't really deal with, but Sasha definitely does, because she is, like, this newcomer, and she is not, like, super rich, and there are all these, like, super rich, perfect equestrian girls, and they see her as, like, a challenge and, like, dangerous because she could be better than them. She has to deal with the pressure of, like, those girls, along with the pressure of, like, being a good equestrian and, like, being good enough to stay at this school because it's very prestigious. And it's just like really intense and really about horses, and young Sheila really wanted that for her life. As if I'm not stressed out enough, let's just add a horse on top of it. Sounds like a great plan. I don't think I finished this series because it kind of like split off, where I read all the books about the main character Sasha, and then they like kind of made like a spin-off series that was the same series that would just follow like a different character, and I was kind of like growing out of the series at that point. I finished up Sasha's story. I don't really need to read the rest of this, so I wonder if those are as good as these, because these were fantastic. Love this. 10 out of 10. Oh my god, this was my life. I like reading a lot, and I also really like writing. So my main original character for like so many stories was named Sasha, and it's based off of this book because I apparently am just very unimaginative. First I named one like Ivy, and then I named one Sasha. It's clearly just based off of the books I read when I was a child. I'm like so nostalgic about this. I'm so nostalgic about a life that I didn't even lead. Like, I was not at an equestrian school, and yet I have this feeling in my heart about like how much I miss being at my equestrian school. Because that's the amazing thing about all these books, is that they were just something that was so important to me, and I totally sunk into the world, and that is something that kept me reading, was the fact that like I could be living like my normal life. I'm just going to school every day and just coming home and reading these stories and just traveling to a completely different place. That is something that I've always loved about reading. Finding a series that you want to stick with, for a series as long as this one and the last one, it's really like these people are your friends. Like, you root for them, you want them to do well, you want to live their life. So that is the end of this video. That is so many books, and I feel bad about the ones that I kind of remember but like not really remember, and I only remember like slight things, and I mean, I could just end up rereading all of these. It's possible. Definitely the last two series, because those were my shit. So I don't know if you're watching this just because you also want to reminisce about all the books that you read when you were a child. If so, please let me know down below what those books were. If you read any of the books that I read, please tell me. I love talking about them, especially like the last two series. I will talk forever about them. I'll reread them. If somebody will reread them with me, I'll do it. I will break the promise that I made to myself earlier in this video, and I will just go ahead and do it. You could also be watching this looking for recommendations for your kids or kids you know, and I recommend all of these. I think that they're great. I hope that this helps you if you're looking for some recommendations, and I don't know, just read them for yourself. They're so fun. They're just so precious to me. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos from me, then please feel free to subscribe. I put out a video every week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!